On today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, we hear from the listeners and viewers from the YouTube comments. We look at the injury report and how that will affect the game on Sunday. And Davis Mills, this is the first time he's going to the offseason with just focusing on football and how that would affect his confidence for the 2022 season. But first,
you are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cody, I'm going to start this show by saying we are 2 out of 3 of the glasses game. You guys know me, John Hickman. Of course, I'm joined by Cody Davis of the Locked On Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are free and available on all major platforms. And before we talk about football, put your 4 up, put your 0, put your 0. We hit 400 subscribers. And guys, if you can't tell, I'm super excited, but I'm happy and I'm thankful that you guys have gotten us to 400. Only, I want to say 597 away from 1,000 subscribers. We worked our ass off, but even us working our ass off, we don't get to this point without you guys, and I really appreciate it. So thank you guys once again. Today's episode, man, Week 18, again, it sounds so weird saying Week 18 instead of 17, but the 17 game will commence on Sunday as the Houston Texans take on the Tennessee Titans. And the injury report does show on Thursday, Jordan Akins did not practice. Offensive lineman Justin Britt was limited in practice. Chris Conley did not practice. John Grenard and Kamu Grugier-Hill, they were both limited in practice. Chris Moore did not practice. And, of course, number 4 for the 18th week in a row, he did not practice with an undisclosed injury or whatever, right?
Not injury related. That's what they listed.
Not injury related, but it may be birthday related.
Over
he had
the
a
week,
good time over the weekend and celebrating his girl's birthday. But we're looking at a situation where Jordan Akins, Justin Britt, Chris Conley, Gennard, Kamu Grugier-Hill, Chris Moore, all of those guys have been key contributors for the Houston Texans. Whether it's big or small, they have contributed a lot to this 4-12 season as of right now. And I kind of hate it. I want to see John Grenard get out there and finish the season really strong. But he won't. Well, right now he was limited in practice. I hope that he plays on Sunday. Chris Moore and Chris Conley, the two Chris's, along with Jordan Akins, they didn't practice. Cody, what's going on with that situation for the Texans?
Well, look, both of these guys, one, Chris Moore, he is still battling an illness. Of course, it's non-COVID related. And Chris Conley, he's battling a knee injury. Both of those guys, as you mentioned, they did not practice on yesterday. As a matter of fact, they didn't practice this entire week. And John, when you look at Sunday's game, the season finale against the Tennessee Titans, to be honest with you, I would not be mad if neither one of those guys do not play. As a matter of fact, I'm actually hoping that they go into this game and Chris Conley doesn't play. And I only say that because, look, this final game of the season, this is going to be one of the most important game of Nico Collins' career. Because, look, if he go out there and step it up as the Texans' number 2 wide receiver, then that's going to give the Houston Texans an opportunity to not focus too much on what type of receiver that you're going to bring in for the 2022 offseason. Now, look, I think it's safe to say Brandon Cooks will return. I'm not sure what his contract is looking like right now. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he has 1 more year left. But even if he is up for a contract extension or not, I'm pretty sure he's going to come back. But look, after Brandon Cooks, it's wide open of who's going to take the helm as the Texans' number 2 wide receiver. When you take a look at Nico Collins' rookie class, Davis Mills is basically wrapped up to be the starter for the Houston Texans in 2022. I think it's safe to say, especially knowing that they're going to move on from Jordan Akins. And of course, you have the situation going on with Pharaoh Brown, which I would not be surprised if they move on from him next season. It seems like the day one starter in the tight end position is going to be Brevin Jordan unless they look up and get somebody better. So you look at that offensive side of the ball and you think to yourself, okay, where does that leave Nico Collins? If he goes out there and showcase that he can be, let's say, as of right now, a solid number 2 option, that's going to put him in a really good situation going into the offseason to know what he has to work on. And of course, that's going to give the Houston Texans a little bit more confidence to say, look, we have a lot of holes to fill, but because we have that guy lining up on the opposite side of Brandon Cooks, I think we're going to not put too much emphasis on who we're going to bring in that wide receiver core. But that's just my thoughts on things. But, at the end of the day, John, this injury report, I don't think it's going to be too important, except for John Grenard, because like you, I actually wanted to see him finish off the season strong. I think one of the things he has to work on is his health, because it seemed like that's the only thing that has been getting in the way of him continuing his career year here in the second season. It's just been injury. And by the way, since we're talking about the injury report, what is this? Week 18 for the 17th week, because they had the bye week. I'm praying to God that this is the last time we have to look at Deshaun Watson, not injury related, on the injury report. I can't believe this man did it, John. This man set out for an entire season.
Yeah, and I don't want to really get too much into that, but for John Grenard, I just want to see him get out on that field and finish strong, because I don't know if Houston has a lot of nucleus guys, right? Like I don't know if Ross
Grenard is one of them,
right? But Ross Blacklock talked about how much he wants to improve in 2022 as being the leader. But when we look at the future, when I say the future, the NFL is not for long, right? So the future is the next 2 to 3 years. They don't go into the next 2 to 3 years without considering Grenard a nucleus guy. They don't go into the next couple of years without considering him somebody that can rush the pass rusher. And I think he needs his last game to just get that mojo going. He's had a great year. One of the biggest jumps from year 1 to year 2, or any year that I've seen sack-wise, from year 1, I don't think he got a sack last year. Now, I want to say he's at 8.5. So just needed that playing time, was able to prove that he has a talent for the NFL. How does this affect things on Sunday? Well, I don't necessarily think it will affect an outcome of winning or losing. I think Houston is, kind of right now primed to lose on Sunday. The Tennessee Titans need a win so they can get their number 1 seed, which will help them out in the long run, giving Derrick Henry an extra week to kind of rest and get back to things. But you pointed out Nico Collins, kind of foreshadowed what I want to talk about for next week, how important it is for Nico Collins to get these game reps. There's a lot of things that I think he needs to work on in this game. Nico Collins has great hands. Nico Collins has the ability to those sideline catches. He's great at those, and he knows how to use his body. However, there's still some things that I think he needs to improve on in this level in the NFL, so he can be a solid number 2 receiver alongside of Brandon Cooks, as you mentioned. Now, I do want to mention and look at the Kamu Grugier-Hill. It's kind of funny he mentioned that Week 18 is only for the owners. He doesn't really care about it, and I kind of feel like a lot of the players are in the same boat. That Week 18, 17 games, I don't think that is set well with a lot of the star players, or not star players, but a lot of the players that, just may not want to play ball that much in this physical sport. 17 weeks, 18 weeks, 17 games is a lot. But Kamu Grugier-Hill, I don't think he's a player that needs to prove anything else. He needs to make sure that he's back for next year. And you mentioned with the wide receiver position, I think this is the last we see of Chris Moore. They brought in Philip Dorsett. I think he's going to return for next year.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Through 2022. So for Chris Moore, he needs to really play. But I don't think that him playing or not is going to do much for his future for the city of Houston, for the Texans, maybe for another team.
And I do want to mention really quick, because I didn't know for sure, Brandon Cooks does have 1 more year left on his contract. So unless he demands a trade, he's going to be here next season. So, I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in it, because I really didn't know from the top of my head.
No. And I think Brandon Cooks is a player that Houston should bring back. He's done a lot for him this year. Unless they want to, kind of send him off like how they did Mark Ingram to a team that's you would think was going to make it to the playoffs. The Saints, I don't think they're going to make it. They're not going to make it, actually. So they're not. But, when I look at Brandon Cooks, unless they want to do right by him, he will be a Houston Texan for next year, rightfully so. Another 1,000-yard receiving season under his belt. And he does a lot for that rookie quarterback in Davis Mills. And I can't wait to talk about Davis Mills on the other side of the break. But before we do that, let's dive into Built Bar. the best protein bar on the market. When we look at this holiday season, we may have overdid it a little bit. However, with the holiday season does come New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you have Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, even better than a candy bar at times. You want to eat healthy, but sometimes I get it, it gets boring. And by week 3, you may be looking at your other protein bars, how you look at the Texans. It's all a waste by week 3. You may be thinking that it's just not worth it. Where is the chocolate? Well, Built Bar is covered in 100% real chocolate. And most of the Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and a dozen of those net carbs, which you want to stay away from. So go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Again, go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at built.com. And I also want to tell you, Texan fans, about an incredible app everybody who buys gas needs to know about, and that's Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code touchdown for NFL or score for college and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So that'll be up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. It's not worth it. And I want to say you got some money, right? So get that cash back using Get Upside. Again, just download the app for free and use promo code touchdown for NFL or score for college to get up to 50 cent gallon cash back for your first tank of gas. Welcome back in, Locked On Texan fans. And remember, we are free and available on all major platforms, including YouTube. And I want to shout out, thank you guys for making us your first listen, but I want to shout out my boy Patrick. It seems like every day, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, with any episode, he does tweet us and let us know now listening to Mondays, Locked On Texan, or he'll tweet us first listen. So I'm looking at him, and I want to just say thank you, Patrick.
Thanks,
for
my guy.
your support, views, and listens. We really appreciate it. But Cody, you had opportunity to talk to Davis Mills and ask Davis Mills, I think, a very important question that a lot of people who may be teetering on whether or not the quarterback of the future is Davis Mills or not. One thing that I liked about this question that you're about to play is that he gave a clear-cut answer. Go ahead and drop that for the listeners.
Hey, Davis, with one game left into the season, I was wondering, have you already started putting together like an off-season workout plan? And if so, what are some of those things you're actually hoping to improve on throughout the off-season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out. A lot of it's mainly focused on this last week, the last opponent, before I switch my focus to the off-season. But, I mean, I'm planning on staying here in the off-season, working out through our facility and try to get some of the rookies from this year and some of the younger guys on the team that we can build on to stay here as well, so we can continue building chemistry in the off season and come out next year and start playing really well at a high level.
I honestly do believe that might have been one of, if not the best response anybody has gotten out of Davis Mills all season. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. And I actually hope that Davis Mills actually used this offseason just to be, just show a little bit more character during his media availability, because sometimes, Lord have mercy, he be so dry. But that's my guy. That's my guy. He a rookie. He gonna learn. But as you guys just heard, the interesting exchange that I had with Davis Mills. Of course, as we all know, Sunday is the season finale, and of course, this means this is the end of his rookie season. And I just wanted to pick his mind to see whether or not he had an opportunity to start putting together an offseason program in order to continue his development as a starting quarterback for this team. And I also asked that question not only to see, has he started doing offseason stuff, but I also wanted to kind of pick his brain to see if he did get a little bit too complacent, because he knows unless they bring, I don't know, somebody like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or somebody that's way out there to be the Houston Texans starting quarterback for 2022, he's really not going to have that much competition. But I like that answer that he gave because one, it showed that this is a young man that is never going to stop working. It shows his work ethic. And two, and most importantly, I also think, and I think this is also get lost in the shuffle, is also showing that this is a young man starting next season. We're going to see him take more of a leadership role because remember, John, you listen to that clip. Not only did he say that he's going to stay here in the city of Houston and continue working out and continue training, but he's going to make sure he do it with the rest of his rookie class, i.e. Nico Collins and Brevin Jordan. So there is so much out of that, 15-20-second clip that I just played. That is so much that you can actually dissect from Davis Mills' answer. And John, once again, I call myself a Davis Mills supporter. I do believe that he is going to be a starting quarterback as for week 1 of the 2022 season. And even in a slim chance that they do bring somebody that can actually challenge him from that starting role, him saying that he's going to take the offseason and work out with his teammates, him saying that he's already starting to put together an offseason program is kind of letting everybody know if you want to be the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans in 2022, you're going to have to go through me. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard because look, once we start going through OTAs and training camp and all this other good stuff, the relationship, the chemistry, the camaraderie between him and his targets, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan, I'm pretty sure Brandon Cooks might be involved in all that as well. That's going to be a hard thing though. That's going to be kind of hard for any quarterback to come in and just disrupt. I love Davis Mills' answer, man. And once again, this man, he's showing leadership, he's showing the will to continue working and to continuously get better as a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, he did mention that he wants to get some of those vets out there as well. And remember, like we just mentioned, Philip Dorsett will be returning for next year.
Oh, he's definitely going to be out there as well.
Brandon Cooks will be returning for next year as of now. So those vets and those rookie class members all working together, that's something that we want to see. And I also think that's something that Tyrod Taylor didn't get opportunity to do because of the roster overhaul, right? But let's take a step back. This is the first year Davis Mills, since entering college, has not had to A, worry about sitting a year, red shirt, B, worry about competing for the starting job. Remember, he sat behind KJ Castillo over at Stanford. And then remember, when he got the opportunity to play, he set the school passing record for over 500 passing yards. Or he's not trying to do things in a short amount of time on the fly because in 2020, guess what happened? COVID-19. And so the past 3 years, he's at the battle against the next guy up, whether it was being a backup or injury, or just like everybody else in college, not having that opportunity to really play the full amount of games you can. And so that is what's going to really be, I think, is going to separate him from what we saw this year in the last couple of years and what we can possibly see moving forward. That confidence of knowing that I don't have to look around my shoulder no more. I'm the number one guy. I don't have to worry about too many precautions. I look at the NFL just like at the NBA, and with COVID numbers rising, I look at them just saying, hey, we got to make our money. We're going to make it regardless. We're going to do everything we can to put our players out on the field, but we're going to do everything we can to put them out there and be safe and healthy. He hasn't been placed on the COVID list so far this year. And so I think that's what we need to be more so excited for, is that this young man, as of right now, he doesn't have to worry about the in front of him opposition. And before, that's been an issue. Whether that had been, like I mentioned, just being a backup or COVID, he's always had to worry about the things that he can't control. Moving forward, he could control staying in Houston and at the facility for the Texans and getting his guys on the phone and say, hey, man, I'm calling you up. I know we just finished the season. You guys go out there and enjoy your off season, but we got to get back. I want to say let's get back a little bit earlier. Let's get out here on this field. Let's do what we can to build this chemistry. We didn't get an opportunity to do that last year. We were both young pups. If I'm calling Nico Collins or Brevin Jordan, we were both young guys. Now let's get on the field and get this chemistry. Because we look at him and Nico Collins and we can say, okay, well, I think that could be pretty good. I more so look at Davis Mills and Brevin Jordan. A tight end has done wonders for a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFL and even for quarterbacks like Brady, right? Or we look at the
Mm.
rejuvenation of when Drew Brees got Jimmy Graham, right? Drew Brees was setting numbers when he got Jimmy Graham, and I think Brevin Jordan and Jimmy Graham have the same type of playing style. And so that's what I'm more so looking forward to, just him getting that opportunity to go out on the field, look around. I'm the man. I'm the man. And as the man, you answer a question like that, that's a bonus for me, right? That proves to me that you really want to be the man. Now, will it work out? Not 100% sure. Everybody wants to be the man till it's time to be the man, but at least I know you're going to prepare to when the time comes, you're going to be as ready as you possibly can be.
John, can I say something real quick before moving on? I just don't know how anybody can look at the progression that we have seen from Davis Mills from the time that he stepped foot on the field, replacing Tyrod Taylor week 2 against the Cleveland Browns, all the way up until now as we prepare for him to close out his rookie season as the starting quarterback for this team. I don't understand how somebody can look at his progression and not get excited for at least what next year can bring for this young man. Because
I
I'm
can tell
sitting
you
here
now. I can tell you
and
now.
and I'm sitting here looking at his numbers. 2,336 passing yards for the season, 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I understand those are not eye-popping numbers, but John, one of the things that get me excited about Davis Mills, even beyond his progression as a quarterback that we've seen throughout his rookie season, is the fact that this is a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round. And if we rewind all the way back to April, how many quarterbacks stole the headline, whether that be Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, even Trey Lance, a guy who only
I
played,
would even
3
say,
college games?
and I would even
Zach
say that Kyle
Wilson.
Trask is, I don't want to cut you off, but Kyle Trask even got some headlines because people
Kelly
were looking
Mond. I
at,
remember how
the
big I was on Kelly Mond.
you were big on Kyle Trask got that headline because, okay, well, the Bucks are drafting a quarterback. And so I think he even got some headlines with that as well, considering the Bucks had just won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how you take a look at a draft in 2021 that was real quarterback heavy. And I do believe a lot of these guys are still going to curve out a really good career, especially that guy in Jacksonville. But here we are about to finish the 2021 season, and you can honestly make a fair argument that Davis Mills has been the second best rookie quarterback out of everybody in this class. I understand guys like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, they are not in the best situation. Hell, I even throw Justin Fields in there, someone who is not in the best situation. And I'm pretty sure if you give them the right coach, you give them a right set of a better circumstance, you give them somebody like Brandon Cooks on their team, maybe they will start showing why they are better than Davis Mills. But look, I just don't see how people cannot get excited, at least for next season. John, to your point, we don't know how far Davis Mills can take the Texans, but I'm just hoping that it works out because I would love to see the Texans go through a quarterback change similar to the Los Angeles Rams. And me and the guy over at Locked On Chargers, my bad, I'm sorry. Similar to the Los Angeles Chargers when they went from Phillip Rivers to Justin Herbert. Normally, when you go from a franchise quarterback to your next franchise quarterback, there's this 5-year gap where you're just searching and you're just cycling through quarterbacks. And just how great that would be for the Houston Texans to, yes, regardless how you feel about Deshaun Watson, he's no longer walking through that door. But for them to go from Watson to Davis Mills, and Davis Mills actually, let's say, take the mantle as the franchise quarterback, it's going to do wonders for this Houston Texans rebuild, man.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, if it's just a 1-year drop off in terms of quarterback play, not necessarily team play, then your franchise, I think, is going to be in good hands. The problem is, if I'm speaking candidly, is I think people are still. Davis Mills still has a small sample size of film, a small sample size of tape. And on top of that, he's just not Deshaun Watson. And I get that. The last quarterback Houston brought in that had a small sample size of tape and film was Brock Osweiler.
And he's already better than him.
It didn't turn out
in my book.
No, in my book as well. I thought Brock Osweiler was the Texans' worst free agent signing outside of Ed Reed. But the thing that is not fair is The only reason why he's in this situation is because of the choices made by your previous franchise quarterback. So, if you are a fan of this franchise, then you should look at those decisions and say, you chose to make this decision to leave. We're mad about that, but we cannot really hold that against this new guy. Now, when this new guy has a bad game, when we look at the game against the Buffalo Bills, you hold it against him for that game. When you look at the game against the Indianapolis Colts, you hold that against him for that game. But when you have games like he did against the New England Patriots, when he goes out there and throws for 3 tutties and zero interceptions, or against the Chargers, I thought was maybe his best game. He threw for a 77.7 completion percentage, 254 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. When you go out there and have games like that, then you should hold. If you hold it bad against him, hold him to a better standard when he has better games and moments, and give him a fair shot. That's all we're saying here on the Locked On Texas podcast. I definitely want to tell you guys before we go and dive into the YouTube comments about BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all of sports betting wagering this 2022 season. All that action at betonline.ag. A new year, a new updated desktop and mobile website. Sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 year. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Thanks for making the Locked On Texans your first listen every day. Be sure to check out our Monday show, a game recap, whether it be Victory Monday or, as we anticipate, another loss Monday. But now make your second listen to Locked On Bets podcast, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling, is free and available on all platforms. Cody, we hadn't did it in a couple of weeks, so it's time to get back to it. Can't thank the guys and thank the listeners and thank the viewers for getting us to 400 subscribers and not acknowledge them how we normally do. So I'm going to dive right into it. Sarah McCoy, who normally, she always has some great comments on YouTube. So Sarah, when and if you see this, I just want to say, hey, you are great. On the show where the Back to Earth, that was a funny title too, Back to Earth, Back to Reality, I guess, for the Houston Texans. That show, she mentioned that I don't think it was the play calling as much as it was the lack of execution. It is imperative to improve the offensive line. No running attack, 3.2 yards per carry to complement the passing attack. It starts up front. Please, Texans, draft Alabama's Evan Neal. Do you want to take that before I do?
No, you could take it. You could take it.
So before I address the Evan Neal comment, I will say this. I 100% agree. Nobody is going to succeed in this game unless you're Brady or unless you're one of the Mahomes of the world. Not too many people is going to succeed without a running game. I 100% agree, which is why in my mock draft, you guys can check out on the draftnetwork.com. You can go and do your own mock drafts. What I did for the very first pick, I picked Kevion Thibodeau, all right? At number 37, I picked Zion Johnson, the guard. And then at number 68, I picked Alex Winstrom, another guard. I went back-to-back guard picks for the Houston Texans. And then at number 80, I drafted Hassan Haskins, the running back. So I 100% agree with you. 3.2 yards per carry ain't going to get it done. David Johnson ain't going to get it done. For the future, Rex Burkhead ain't going to get it done. The ghost of Mark Ingram ain't going to get it done. I 100% agree with you on that. Now, I want to turn to the Evan Neal. I was big on him, but then I had an opportunity to watch him in the game against Cincinnati. And as a left tackle, he's going to do great in college, which is what he did. In the NFL, I think Evan Neal is going to move to the opposite side on that right side. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's moved inside to play more of that right guard instead of tackle because of his feet. He's very powerful. He's very strong. However, I would feel more comfortable with him on the right side, not the left. But I would much more feel more comfortable with Evan Neal if he's playing guard. And if you're going to draft a tackle and move him inside to guard, well, we saw what happened with that the last time the Houston Texans did that. I would rather much so like I did in my mock draft, I would go ahead and draft those guards in the second and third round instead of the third overall pick in the NFL 2022 draft. Cody. So my boy Jalen Johnson, who also gives us great content, he says, you make a good point, John. Sauce is the real deal. It's going to be interesting to see who the Texans will take at most likely the third pick of the draft because we will pretty much need everything, so we can't go wrong with any of the top players coming out in the draft. I want to go ahead and toss this to you. Are you looking at any particular player or position to be filled with the with the Texans' first pick in the 2022 draft?
LSU Stingley, cornerback. That's the one guy I'm hoping that the Houston Texans get. And look, I get it. I know the offensive line needs to need a whole entire revamp. I get it. You know, of course, just the whole entire running back core, just everybody should just be fired, release, cut, trade, whatever you want to call it. I get it. This team has a lot of holes to fill, but when I take a look at the secondary, especially considering now that Justin Reed, is chalking up the deuces.
Well, he did say he wants to be back. It's not a guarantee. He was on a podcast on Thursday. He did mention that he wants to be back. It's not a guarantee, but he would like to be in Houston.
I would not believe Justin Reed is going to be back until I see him sign on the dotted line, smiling behind the Texans logo. You know how they always posted during the offseason.
Will Justin Reed get like his coaches on a video? On the video, will he get that same treatment as well?
Whatever. I'm not going to believe it until I see his name signed on the dotted line with his agent. That's how much I believe Justin Reed is done here with the Houston Texans. However, with all that being said, I think, look, I could be wrong, but I think Stingley from LSU might be the best defensive back in this upcoming draft. And John, that is a hole that the Texans, how long it's been since they had like a very quality, a very good, a very reliable cornerback? Maybe since Jonathan Joseph started showing his age, maybe.
Well, I think
Jonathan Joseph started showing his age, what, 2018, 2019, like right when you and I started covering this team?
Yeah, I think Conley was actually a good corner. That injury really set him back.
I take that back. Bradley Roby was pretty decent. He was reliable. I was
going to mention Bradley Roby, but the thing about Houston, they can't draft a corner to save their life. They drafted Kevin Johnson over Marcus Peters. Remember when they drafted Kareem Jackson, Kareem didn't necessarily become the Kareem Jackson that we know and love until I want to say year 3, when they start moving him around and start really utilizing his talent. But specifically at corner, I'd even go back to the Dante Robinson days. I was never a fan of Dante Robinson. So, given their MO, some teams just know how to draft certain positions. We look at Houston, they know how to draft a wide receiver, right? We look at
yeah, they do.
We look at, I would say, the Baltimore Ravens. They know how to draft linebackers. Certain teams just don't know how to draft positions, and certain teams do know how to draft. So I would be very cautious, but I'm big on Sauce Gardner. I think if you're going to draft a corner at number 3, you swing for the fences. And a guy that didn't give up a touchdown in his collegiate career, that speaks volumes to me.
I'm just really big on Stingley. I think his upside is nice. Really high, man.
And here's what I like: the possibility of Houston having these multiple first-round picks whenever they move on from Deshaun Watson. So we may be in a situation where we can go and get a Thibodeau and get a corner, or we can go get to. We never know how it's going to play out. But once that trade goes through, and they're able to get that Dolphins pick or whoever he goes to, and you see how I threw the Dolphins out there, right? Then we'll be able to really evaluate this draft. Last comment from my boy, Yakum Flabber. He said flat out, the Texans don't have enough talent. This was the Back to Earth show. And here's what I like most about that comment. There was a reply to that comment, And Sarah McCoy, she backdoored and said, "You said a mouthful." With that being said, you guys, thank you for checking out this Friday edition of the Locked On Texans podcast. Make sure you give us that subscription on YouTube. We're on the road to 1,000, but follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Follow the Locked On Texans page at Locked On Texans and like us on Facebook. And you guys, make sure Cody's going to give you his credentials and tags, but make sure you give Cody a follow. Everything Texan related, Rockets related. Now, in a couple of weeks, SaberCats related. Our boys everywhere in the city of Houston.
Yes, sir. And please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody COTYDAVIS_24. This is my last opportunity, John. I'm holding on to those 5 wins, baby. 5.
I think I gotta get you lunch if we get those 5 wins.
Man, I don't care, man. If we get those Titans. 5 wins, man.
Go Titans. I don't have lunch money right now. But until we see you guys on Monday, peace.